Alright, what's up, Dragon Brood? We haven't done this in a minute, and we need to have a talk. First, before we get into this, let me say that this is going to be some hard truths for a lot of people, and this is probably going to get me a lot of backlash, and this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings, but this is real talk, so don't take it personally. This is me talking about generally among all Magic players. Today, I want to talk about 5 reasons that some of you aren't winning as much Magic as you should be. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Some of you have unrealistic expectations. And I don't mean that as like we don't all deserve to try to win or anything, but the reality is, well, let me put it like this. I remember seeing this a lot in paper, right? People that had never even done well at a Friday night Magic, with maybe like 10 people, 12 people at their local store on a Friday evening, decided they want to go play into a cash tournament or a qualifier. But then they go like 1-3, 0-4, and they're kind of upset about it. But think about it, right? If you've never had success on the lower level, what makes you think you're going to have success at the higher level? We've got to set some realistic expectations, right? If you've never even reached platinum, then what makes you think you're going to just go shoot to mythic on the arena ladder? If you struggle to make mythic, what makes you think when you play the arena open, you're just automatically supposed to win cash? Not saying again that you can't and that'll never happen, but we kind of have to set realistic expectations, like set realistic goals, something that you can reach one rung at a time to eventually get that upper level. And on top of that, past success does not equal future success. Again, coming back to the paper thing, I have met multiple people that have had a really good, maybe even 6 months, right? They find a deck that they like, they run through a couple of qualifier seasons, maybe they finish top 16 in some cash tournaments, and they're running hotter than the sun. And then the next thing you know, there's a rotation or some other deck gets big, and now they're struggling. And then in their head, well, it's something, they've gotten super unlucky, or the game's no good, or the new set's overpowered. The reality is, they're just not putting in the time that the other people are to keep learning the format, right? Like, just because you did well once doesn't mean you're going to do well again. Just because you make Mythic last month doesn't mean you're going to make Mythic this month. You still have to make the adjustments. A deck that works for 3-4 months may not work again in the future, but we have to understand that and have realistic expectations that go with those goals. So the first thing, just set realistic expectations, have goals that you can reach, and then just check them off the box. And once you get there, don't think that means you're just going to plateau and be there forever. For this next one, I'm just going to reference Mean Girls. Some of y'all just got to stop trying to make fetch happen. I get it. We have pet cards. I do it here on the channel. I have fun cards I like throwing into decks or whatever. Here's the thing. A lot of times, those decks I build with some of those cards are just trash. Y'all may never see them because I test them and do stuff off camera. Yeah, you can't waste all that time on cards that just aren't any good. Or if you are, again, coming back to the first point, have realistic expectations. Understand that, this card is inferior and it just may not work. But don't get upset or don't keep grinding at the ladder and killing your rank and being upset that it's just not doing what you want it to do. If you know it's bad, and that's okay. You can't just keep wasting your time spinning your wheels and be upset you're not getting the outcome you want by playing inferior cards. And all of that is kind of related to point 3, which is sometimes you just have to acknowledge fact. What I mean by that is, if decks are having success, don't just sit and go, oh, well, those decks are just getting lucky. Or, I don't know, those cards don't seem like they should be able to win games. Like, if you're seeing it consistently that it's a thing, it's a thing. Just because you don't like a card doesn't mean it's not good. In sports terms, for those of you that are into sports ball, or maybe those of you that aren't, there is a term called WAR, wins above replacement. And what this basically means is, let's say you're the Lakers owner and you have Kobe Bryant and you have Nick Young. How many more games are you going to win because Kobe Bryant is in your starting lineup over Nick Young? Or in this case, maybe it's Shieldred and Gissa, right? But you're going to win way more because you have Shieldred in your deck than you are because you have Gissa in your deck. That's not a question. So trying to force Gissa over Shieldred is just wasting your time. You're going to lose some number of games more because you chose to just not play a superior card. The card may be showing up in a lot of decks, and yes, maybe you may hate it, but if your goal is to win, you just have to play better cards. This next one I think is really important. It's easy to get caught in this trap. Some of you just switch decks way too often. Now, I know there's some of you that'll play the same deck because you have limited resources for whatever reason, and that's totally cool. But I do see a lot of people that try to just want to play the next hot thing all the time. And if you're not playing a deck for more than a week at a time, you're not going to be able to learn all the ins and outs. And I get it. You look and I'm good enough at Magic. I play enough games. I'll figure it out. There's a lot of little intricacies that come up through playing games. Interactions that you see and now you commit them to memory. Or you get into games where you learn, all right, with maybe 3 or 4 turns left in this game, possibly, what play I need to make to have an advantage. Well, if you go through that enough times in those matchups, some of that starts to become second nature. So now you can start looking for the next level play. But if you're just learning the deck as you go along and you play 20, 30 games and you're ready to move to the next next deck, well then you're not going to really have time to learn all that stuff. And a lot of times you're going to lose games to other people who have put in the time with the deck they're choosing to play. Experience means something. Too often people just want to throw that aside. I get it. There's people like me and other creators on here that are making new decks all the time and trying different stuff on our channel. And some of them might look super fun, but that doesn't mean you need to play every one. Some of what we're making is for entertainment purposes, or if nothing else, you can look and just learn from our mistakes. And that's cool. You don't have to go build it. If you do, try to plan to put at least 2 to 3 weeks worth of time in so you can get as good as you can possibly be with the deck before moving on. Okay, now this last one, this is a little bit nuanced. Some of you also copy decks from creators expecting the same results as creators. And there's kind of a lot that goes into this one. Like, first off, again, to our last point, you don't need to play every deck your favorite creator plays. We're going to be playing a bunch of stuff because it's part of our job. It's how we're trying to appeal to a maximum number of people. We're trying to build a variety of things so there's something for everyone. Like, you don't need to do that. Kind of just put that aside. Even then, let's say your favorite creator makes a new deck and they have a high win rate with it. Well, they're probably also one of the few people playing it at that time while they're testing it. But I can tell you from experience, I'm not even nearly the largest YouTube channel out there for Magic. I've run into my own decks on the ladder. So if that happens to me, that means there's a fair number of people out there playing my stuff. So imagine for those bigger channels that get exponentially more views or have way more subscribers, their decks are going to be out in the world all over the place. What this means is, from the time the creator started playing it to the time you probably copied it and played it, other people have already gained more experience against that deck. So even if once upon a time that deck might have been a 70 or 80% win rate deck, that was only going to be for a small moment in time. As people get to experience playing games against that deck and get the practice against it, or even learn the ins and outs just from playing it themselves, well, now you're going to lose more games when you play it. I'm not saying the deck's going to be awful all of a sudden, but you can't go in and go like, you said this was 80% and I only won 60%. Don't forget that on the uppermost level of play, good players only really win about 55% of their matches anyway. So if you're already at 60, you're already way above the average. It doesn't mean you're going to have the exact same results as your favorite creator. I know, it's one of those things people don't even think about, but it's absolutely true. And I've even seen the difference where I have a deck that's very well on a day, and then I may pick it up to mess around with it, a week later, and it's just like, oh, people know that this card in here is more important now than they knew when I first played it. There you go. Like, even something that small can change several of those games that otherwise would have been wins when they might have ignored a card previously, thinking it was a bad card, but now realizing that it's critical to that type of deck. So just little things. You don't need to necessarily try to get the same results as your favorite creator. Just understand that sometimes things change from the time they play it and make the video, which, by the way, sometimes those videos are recorded days in advance, and then you're seeing it 3-4 days later, which means there were multiple days in a row that other people got experience against it. And that means a world of difference. So I know I said 5, but I'm gonna make this like a bonus 2-pack for 6. This just really comes down to how we play. First off, we need to play slower as a whole. And I'm guilty of it too. I can't count the number of times I've even made a video or been streaming and been like, right after I hit the button and make a play, it's just like, oh, if I would have just waited 2 more seconds, this thing was a dumb play, or I left myself defenseless. And sometimes just slow down. Just whenever you're about to make your play, just take a breath, take like 2 seconds and just double check that's exactly what you want to do. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit slower, but you're going to win more because you're not going to make more of those silly mistakes. You'll see things that you missed otherwise. I think that's actually super important, and we don't talk about that enough. The other part of that is you got to play when you're not stressed. If you're already bothered by something or worrying about things, you're not going to be playing your best game. And if the game starts stressing you out, because hey, we all go on losing streaks, right? And it's never fun. But if you lose 3-4 in a row and you're frustrated, get up, walk away from your machine, do some sit-ups or go for a walk or pet your dog or whatever, something just to get away from your machine, work out some stress, then come back and play. Playing while you're mad and angry or whatever is just going to compound things. It's the poker thing, right? You end up just making bad plays because you're chasing money that you lost. And the same mentality can go into playing on the arena ladder, especially where you just drop 3 or 4 rungs in a rank and you're trying to get that back so you can get to diamond before you go to bed. And it's just like, it just becomes this whole string of thoughts that have nothing to do with the game at hand. So yeah, if I could say anything, those are probably 2 really solid tips, while small, that are very important. Slow down, don't play while you're stressed. And now what I want to ask y'all is, are there other tips or things that you have done that have helped you play better, or things that you think you're failing at that you could do better? Let me know down in the comments. Blow me up, tell me I'm stupid. I don't care, whatever you think, but I'm really curious. I think this is the type of stuff people need to hear if they want to be better at Magic. If you're wondering why you don't sell your Magic cards for as much as you want, and you like this video, you should check that one out because there's some good tips and reasons there for you. So that's all I have for you for now. We'll see you next time.